I mean, it's like you want an argument for religion. Technology advancing is personally is something that really speaks to me for religion because it's like right now we're talking specifically about like the way you learn and advancements in learning, but I could take exactly what we're saying and apply it to morality. So, for example, there was a time in history where you would be respected because of how many people you killed. It was like, oh, you're the alpha male. There's a time in history where you'd be respected for how many wives you owned. There's a time in history you'd be respected for how many slaves you owned. Now, the whole thing is being like, being inclusive or being loving. But it's like, just in our parents' lifetime, there was a time where disincluding black people was the thing. And now there's a time where including like black people is a good thing. And so where I'm going with this is because I realize that if I'm saying this too fast, it would be bad. But where I'm going with this is that not only does technology and learning change every generation, what stands for a good moral human changes every generation too. Right. What makes you a good moral human now is not what made you a good moral human in our parents' age. And so it goes, who's right? If there's no religion, then it's just human brain versus human brain. But I, as a Christian, can go, oh, my morals have never changed since the Bible was written, which I believe was the beginning of time. Like, my moral code will never change, but the world will always change.
Yeah, that's like, think about it. George Washington, he owned slaves.
Yeah.
Not only did he own slaves, he had slave children. And like, only freed like a couple of them.
Yeah.
Like he had his own children were actual, like he didn't free them. And we're just like praising George Washington. And like to this day, like, you know what I mean?
First president.
Yeah, to this day, first president, OG, like there's a dollar bill. But like, dude, what? Like if he was alive now, he'd be arrested. Like he'd be canceled. He'd be killed for the atrocious things that he did. So it's what you're saying is like, it seems like there's this moral compass that just continues to change based on the times.
Oh yeah, I mean,
but there's a moral compass that's unchanging, and that's Jesus's compass.
Yeah.
You know, Christianity, right? Like that's unchanging. But the people of this world create our own compass, apparently. Sorry, so go ahead.
No, I mean, I think that's one of the strongest arguments. I once heard a preacher take it to the extreme, and they said, "Let me ask you a question, which I'll ask you right now."
Okay.
If you say killing is wrong, and Hitler says you should kill every Jew, what makes you right and him wrong?
I have God and he doesn't.
Well, without God, there's not an answer. Without God, it's just your opinion versus his opinion.
Right.
And what atheists will say is, or non-religious people will say, they'll be like mind blown when you bring up an example like this, and they'll say, well, it's against the law. But it's against the law in this country. If we were in Nazi Germany, it was pro in their law. They were the government. What makes America's law right and their law? And you can go on this tangent that if there's no God, then moral code is just human mind versus human mind. And sometimes people will say, well, okay, it's survival of the fittest. You don't want to kill because you make yourself a target. But you could say the same thing on the other hand, which is like Germany was a world power when they were doing that. They had power because they killed. So again, like morals change generation over generation. And that's why that to me has been such a strong argument for God in my case. Because it's just like, and like another thing people will say, and I know I'm ranting right now. It's like another thing people will say is like, but I know it's wrong. Like I know in my heart it's wrong. Like if I were to kill someone, I feel it's wrong. And it makes sense because it says in the Bible, it says God created you in the image, or like created human beings in the image of God. We have moral code written on our heart. That's why we know these things are wrong, even when we do them. Is that we don't need the law to tell us we're wrong because it's written in our existence.
Right.
It's like you have to train a kid to know where to go to the bathroom. You got to be like, all right, you pee in here, you poop in here. But if a kid steals a toy from his brother, before the parents even get mad, they'll know it's wrong. Yeah. And it's like, well, how? Why is everyone scared of the dark?
What is that gut feeling?
Yeah.
That's like you make a decision, you make a choice, and there's like something else that you just feel inside it initially right after. Like, what is that, right? That's what you got to ask yourself.
I think the greatest example of it is just the fear of the dark. The fear of the dark is the most common fear that almost everyone has. As you get older, the less and less you have it. But constantly in the Bible, there's two things that are constantly said in the Bible, which is one is Jesus compares himself to the light. He says, I am the light, the world is dark. And two, he says, be more like children, be more like children. Children, almost every single child is scared of the dark. And he goes, but why? No one teaches you to be, no one says, oh, go be scared of the dark as you grow up. And I think that's why God constantly refers to himself as the light of the world, because like he made us in that image. Like, I don't know if what I'm saying is too deep or
No, it's not.
Keep talking while I grab my subject.
There's like these inclinations that you have that are like instinctual. I don't know if that's a word, but I just made it a word. But like you have these like notions of what is good and what is evil without being told. Well, like that's basically what you're saying, right? Like you don't need to be told something. Some things are just within you.